I'll be happy with that, it's in a fairway. And that drive went 380 yards. Oh. That one, not as good. Big slice off to the right, and that one only went 244 yards, so 60 yards shorter and off to the right. And the reason it went 60 yards shorter and off to the right is because I made 4 mistakes, really common mistakes that I see golfers making all the time when they come to see me with the driver. I made those 4 mistakes intentionally, but often golfers make them unintentionally. And the first mistake that I made was I placed the grip incorrectly in my hand. So what did I do? Well, I normally have the golf club placed there in my hand. If I open up the hand, you can see that it runs right through the base of the fingers. Now, all I did in that second shot is I basically took that grip and I moved it a little bit more through the palm of my hand. You can see now it's closer to the midline of my hand rather than the fingers. Now, when I do that, straight away that feels like it's more in the palm, it's less in the fingers. And what that does is it robs me of my ability to use my wrist. And because it's more in the palm, it also gives me a weaker hold as well, which means my hand is turned too much towards the target, and that means that the face is more likely to come in open. So that one fault alone is likely to cost me distance, and it's likely to cause me to have the face open at impact. So straight away, we're going to get shots out to the right and obviously shorter. So the first thing I want you to do is really make sure that club is in the base of the fingers. I close my hand around, and then the pad of my hand, which is this part here, then sits on top of the handle. Here's a little test you can do to ensure that that grip is correct. Once you have the club set up behind the ball and you think you're correct in terms of your hold, just hold your lead forearm. And without that lead forearm moving, you should be able to get the club shaft up to about horizontal. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, but you can see how that club is around about horizontal. That tells me 2 things. Number 1, it tells me I'm holding it correctly in my hand, and it tells me I've got enough range of motion in my wrist to create some speed. As soon as I go a little bit more through the palm, which I did in that second swing, that is as far as I can go whilst I'm keeping the club face square. If I wanted to go any further and create more speed, I can do, but the face is always going to open. So as I've created that angle now, look at the club face. You can see how that's way open because I had to cut my wrist to get that extra range of motion. So this is so important. You know, when we aren't hitting driver well, we often want to dive into transition or delivery or release, but sometimes it can be something as simple as making sure the grip is correct at setup. That was my first fault. The second fault was also a setup, but this was to do with my body tilts. I had my body tilted incorrectly at setup. So what did I do? Well, from my hopefully good setup, I had my hips back, I had my upper center forwards, and when I did that, it caused my shoulders to align left of target. So you can see now how when I'm setting up, my body is aiming significant to the left of target, and you can see having that face on it just doesn't look quite right. You can see my body angles aren't right, and that's going to influence the whole shape of my swing and how I can move my body. So here's what I'd love you to do to make sure your setup is correct. You're going to, first of all, place your feet just a little bit more than shoulder width apart, and you're just going to stand up nice and normal. Take your correct grip, which we've sorted out now, and just place the golf club as much as you can vertically up, and then just have a little bit of waggle left and right to make sure that you're pretty balanced. Now from here, I want your hips, so your belt buckle, to be slightly closer to the target than the sternum. So I'm just going to add a little bit of tilt by pushing my hips a fraction forward, and you can see what that does to my body and the golf club. It adds a little bit of tilt. The golf club just allows me to see what my body's doing. It's not a huge amount. It's only a few degrees, but straight away you can see that I've got angle through my shoulders, my upper is behind my lower, and then from there, if I tilt over and drop the club down, look at how different that body shape is. That body shape is enabling me, as we come onto the golf swing, to load into my trail side better, which is going to help me with weight shift. It's going to help me get my golf swing off to the right start. But it also fixes alignment. And alignment with the driver is one of the biggest faults. Because the ball is so far forward, it's so easy to get the alignment out. And when you're in this position, when your forearms align left, it's really easy to have a club path which is left. And if you're struggling with the driver, I have not seen your golf swing, but I'd almost guarantee your path is going to need some work. Third fault that I did, it'd be interesting to see if you go down in the comments, did you spot these faults? So did you spot the first two? What did you think the third fault was that I made? What I actually did was, from this kind of poor setup, I snatched the club away with my hands and my arms. Now, I appreciate we can't measure what my weight is doing here, but when I do that, when I snatch the club away with my hands and arms, two things happen. Number one, right arm gets really narrow because my body hasn't moved. And number two, if we could measure the weight, it's not really moving. What great players do, and what I did in the first swing, was that I moved the golf club with my core, so that's my hips, my abs, my chest, my body, my torso. And as I did that, it allowed me to keep good width in the golf swing, and it allowed me to shift pressure to that trail side early. This is a biggie. If you're at a distance, this is so key. Very often when we pick up the driver, we want to hit it further. We want to hit it, close to 300. And we kind of realize that speed is going to help us do that. But we introduce the speed with the hands too early. That's what I did in that first swing. It's going to get you narrow, it's going to cause your weight shift to be delayed, and it's really hard to recover from that. So what I'd love you to do is feel as if the first part of your golf swing is with the core, and you're almost using that to pull the grip away from the ball. Don't focus on the club head. When you focus on the club head, that's when you start to get your hands and your arms involved. What I'm really trying to do here is I'm trying to use my core to push and turn. So it's a little bit of a push, a little bit of a turn, and it feels to me like I'm pulling the grip away. A great visual I like to use with my students is imagine that the bottom of your driver head is actually stuck to the floor. Okay, so maybe some glue or something that's causing it to stick. And you've got to use your core to actually kind of unstick it from the ground. And when you do that, it starts to get you into this mindset of, I'm going to use the body to get this golf swing off to the right possible start. The last thing I want you to do is to be snatching it away because it gets you narrow and it causes the weight shift to be delayed. The fourth thing I did in the downswing is I got my upper center, sternum, buttons, zip on your top. I got that too much in front, or at best in line with my lower center, which is my belt buckle or my hips. So on that second drive, which was a result of that poor setup and that snatching movement away, my upper body got ahead of my lower body. Now, what does that cause? Well, it causes me to be cutting across the golf ball from out to in. That's why the ball curved over there. And it gives me almost zero chance of hitting up on the ball. If I don't hit up on it, I can't get my maximum distance. So here's what I'd love you to do. From the top, you've now got a much better chance of doing this, by the way, through all the changes that we've made. But from the top, your lower center, that's your hips, need to be pushing out in front of your upper center. So you can see that my zip or my sternum would be way behind my belt buckle. That gives me a body shape which helps me move the club more downwards to start the downswing. That's really beneficial. It allows me to get my low point behind the golf ball and allows me to then hit up on it with a club path which is more functional, a club path which is more neutral or even out to the right. So a little visual I'd love to use is imagine when you're setting up, just on the outside of your lead foot is a wall. Now in that first little demonstration, that poor swing at the start, there's a decent chance that my lead shoulder would have crashed into that wall. What we've got to try and feel is if we had a wall there, obviously the golf club would hit it, but we've got to try and be, in our downswing, moving our hips closer to the wall, but ensuring that our lead shoulder stays away from that wall. So my lead shoulder would not contact that wall at any point in this downswing. It's simple, it's a visual, it's something you can do on the golf course, but it really helps you create the right body shape and changes your delivery. Let's now fix those four things and see if we can improve on that second drive. So in the fingers, good body tilts. I'm going to get my golf swing off to the right possible start and keep away from that wall. Oh, and that was better.